but I'm gonna. Okay.
That up at the mountain thing.
She did.
Yeah.
She did her little sketchbook, her little watercolor.
So when you go to YouTube, and I was trying to do it on the TV earlier so you could see it.
Look at your name.
Isn't that lovely?
Oh, yeah. They're stunning.
Color Street, Kayla Wynn. Okay. So I go to my YouTube, and because I have a channel, I can go to my channel, and when you find my channel, it looks something like that. Can you tell my hair's grown out?
Oh yeah.
Wow. So here are the drawing.
How did you get to your channel? You just typed in your name.
You have to go to YouTube and then Carrie Waltz and it'll come up. But these are totally unedited.
Okay.
Edited.
All right. The grid method is
I had gold nails then.
it's also called dilation in math.
Okay, so I'm gonna turtle. Yeah, that was a frog.
Oh, it's a
Okay, so I'm gonna. Anyway.
Amphibians.
Well, shoot. I couldn't see it, and I didn't even title what these were other than lesson 5.2.
So is this
Well,
enlarging?
every time I taught every semester.
Okay, so but that's how you find what's on there. It's because I hit the wrong one. I hit the wrong one. This was the 3-dimensional drawings, and
Another one the other day.
it was just so fun.
Because you can make it look like it's coming right off the page, and if you cut the page.
But if I wanted to draw something like this,
Well, it's on there somewhere.
It looks like it's there. The shadowing has to be right too, but not cutting it out.
Okay, I might just have to.
now I want to
Okay, well, I'm gonna stop that. Yeah. Anyway, but that's where you find that. So when you go to YouTube, and hopefully after today, it'll be Tuesday painting, and probably the date is how I'll list that, so you can find it.
Just put my favorite class.
I really thought about
There you go.
that's how it should be done. Okay, that's funny. Okay, so I'm going to just stop this for just a second because I'm going to well, no, you might want. There was something that my family shared with me this week, and if you had not heard of this woman, Brene Brown, Brene with the whatever that's called, Brene Brown. She is a researcher, storyteller. There is a phenomenal video for teachers that anyone should see. I think I posted it on Facebook.
Yeah, on your page, right?
On my page, and then there was another one I did. She did a video on vulnerability, and it is the 5th highest ranking YouTube video ever.
Wow.
And so, I can't change the. Yeah, so
I can't see
the gifts of imperfect. Well, because I have that zoomed in and I can't unzoom it.
That's okay.
Let go of who you think you're supposed to be and embrace who you are. I just got this book, ordered it on Amazon, so it was here when I got here. And then Daring Greatly, D-A-R-I-N-G.
She's the author of both.
Greatly. She's the author of both. And subtitle, How the Courage to be Vulnerable Transforms the Way We Live, Love, Parent, and Lead. And honestly, I think any high school and up can listen to her. She's funny. She's from Texas. Yay, Texas.
Mm-hmm.
And
That's the first time.
The Gifts of Imperfection.
and she has many other books, but these are just the two that just kind of spoke to me.
We just need to have a book study too.
So that's really not a bad idea.
Yeah.
And then she had these quotes, and it's like, oh, it's a coloring book. I like that. I'll get this in color. There's no joy without gratitude. These are just some talk to yourself like you would like someone, like you would to someone you love. but there's so much of it's common sense, but she says it in a way that it makes me think, okay. But anyway, it's worth
Well, this one about
checking out.
the
That's
gifts of imperfection.
yes.
That's so important starting out in this because you can't be perfect. As
Oh.
a painter. I mean, as you're learning.
There's
I mean,
another
I
one
wanted
that's
to
even better
I
than
want my
that.
work to look like Carrie's, but it's not going to.
How about the gifts of being sucky? Did they write that?
Oh, it says daring greatly is being brave and afraid every minute of the day at the same time, at the exact same time. Courage is contagious. Every time we choose courage, we make everyone around us a little better and the world a little braver.
That's so true, especially with teenagers.
Don't shrink. Don't puff up. Stand your sacred ground. Yeah, I thought I don't have to chase extraordinary moments to find happiness. It's right in front of me. If I pay attention and practice gratitude. That's not what I'm talking about. But one of the things that really hit home this week was the vulnerability part about. See if I can find it. I'm not good at scanning.
Does it say the word vulnerable?
I think so. That's why I'm looking.
Do you want
Y'all
me to
see it yet?
for it?
Okay.
There it is, there it is.
What does it say?
It's on the left-hand side. Isn't
That's
that's the word.
that. What? Yeah. There was one about. Oh gosh, I can't even think of it now. But.
You can look at the
Anyway.
sign that covers the whole wall and go look at it like that and goes, they misspelled that word right there. I don't know where we were. We were probably at Callaway. We were at Callaway.
The
They
main
had all
thing.
these
Yeah, the main thing was vulnerability is the birthplace of creative thinking. Something of that line, because if you're, those who dared to be different and tried something new or invent something, were always in the crossroads of being ridiculed and made fun of, and you're an idiot, and what are you world wasting your time with that for? And even art creatives, and so a lot of her videos, YouTubes, things, some of them are interviews, some of them are just her talks. Her talks are really easier to follow. The interviews, sometimes they talk so fast, and if you don't have the basis of some of the background that she's talking about, and anyway, but I listened to a lot of her this past week, so
Cool.
it was great. Today I wanted to, because part of the problem was trying to decide what I want to do, I thought, well, why not? Because we're beginning a new round of classes. I know there are only 4 on this round, I believe. 1. Yes. Vulnerability is the birthplace of innovation, creativity, and change. But it's also the scary place, because when you're in work and or even with family, when you need to lean into those difficult conversations and you don't want to. But I've leaned into some difficult conversations this past week, and it was very healing. So I was doing more of a spiritual renewal, growth, and artist thing. But going back to planning a painting, a lot of times I skip this part where I try to focus on the lights and darks, the patterns, the things that might direct our eye. Focus. Well, don't want to focus. Okay. Well, that'll be skewed a little bit.
Down there.
It focuses down here, but doesn't want me up there. Where we're going to take some pictures of things that you want to do and simplify it and really find the big shapes. I didn't quite understand big shapes when I did this. I was hung up in my drawing mode. I mean, I sort of saw shapes, but you see I'm still adding so much detail in there that I wasn't quite there yet. I didn't quite understand looking for the big shapes. That one, this whole thing right here would have been a shape. This all right back here would have been a shape.
Can you show us side by side with that on a piece of paper? What you, like if you did it right this minute.
It'd be a little better if I had that particular photo, but I can kind of show you here where, and see, like if I squint, the thing is you squint your eyes, and I'm just now in the last year been understanding how that simplifies things. And okay, so right here there would be a shape. That would be this shape all in here. This would be the dark of that, this part right in here. It might not be exact to scale, but it'll give you an idea. I would want this to be, you look for your lightest light, and actually the lightest light, this connects, so to be totally true with just shapes, abstract shapes, I would look and see how the light kind of creeps through the trees. Can y'all see that?
Okay.
Okay, let me slide over
Where's
just a little
that
bit.
cover picture?
This is near you.
Is that at the Bascom?
Yeah, Bascom.
I wondered if it was the Bascom.
This was a drive-by shooting photo because I was driving away and I stuck my camera out the window.
That's a great angle of it. I've never looked at it
Yeah.
from that angle with a photo.
And so, this would be another shape. This would be the medium tone. And if I squint my eyes, this could actually continue into this part over here, to where part of the tree shadows are. I'm just drawing with one eye open. All right, are y'all seeing what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Okay, and then this then follows down into the grass area here. And it continues up in here. This is, medium value. And it goes down a hill and continues over here. And then it comes up here where this is all gray. So when I look at this, now I've got to come back. Okay, now here this looks the same darkness as this, so I'm just going to make that. I'm not worried about detail right now. Okay, so I have the beginning of a dark. I need more dark, so I'm not even going to worry about the cut in. I'm just putting in the dark. There's dark here. There's dark between the trees. There's dark that connects. I'm gonna get a really dark. It's a little, I'm having to bear down too hard. Okay, so here's my darkest darks. And this may or may not be solid. I'd have to look at the photo to see, but I'm just right now I'm just going to consider it one of my darkest darks, and I'll just make this the darkest dark, and then I'm going to continue the dark over here in the background. There's a trunk that is not dark, and so right now I have a dark, a medium, and a light. And I've just simplified that, quite a bit, to where when I look at this, I want to make sure that my darks connect. And visually, even if you have a dotted line, those visually connect. They don't have to touch. It's kind of a what's considered a lost edge, where you know it connects but you don't see it. And I can look here and just make sure that there's something here that kind of creates the flow of your eye up here, and I sort of have that here. And I can come in and do the trees too if I want, whatever. But depending on how you're going to do the project, whether you'd want to draw the trees first or just know that they're there. Or in your sketch, you can go, do I want them there? Do I want to move it in further to where I see part of the tree? Because one of my teachers said, well, don't. Most trees, if you were painting there in person, you wouldn't draw just the branch. You would reposition yourself or move the tree over and draw more of the tree. She usually says she like 3/4 of the tree rather than 1/4 of the tree. But again, it's your choice. But if you want to show something up close, to me, that's with this particular scene, that's a way you could do that.
Theoretically, why do your darks need to connect? Because I've heard you say that lots of times.
It helps you lead your eye through the painting.
Through the painting.
Mm-hmm.
So would you make them connect even if they didn't in the real life?
Not necessarily. Visually, I mean, there can be slight gaps, but you want it. You don't want a dark here, a dark up here, a dark over here, and no connection. That's a weak composition. And you might not have as dark of darks. You don't have to have. If yours is a high key painting is one that uses like the top 5 lights from the values 1 to 9. And but I like paintings that have stronger contrast. So if I have a scale of 0 to 9, 1, 2, 3 are my lights, the 4, 5, 6 are my middle, and my darks are 7, 8, 9, and 9 is black, and 1 is white. So black and the 2 next to it would be my darks. I would want at least some of that in a painting, some of a medium, and some of a light. But I would say, as long as you have 4 out of the 9, you have enough value change. You don't need 9. That's going to be too confusing. So it's just simplify it. But what's nice about doing some things like this is you can decide, well, do you even like that composition? Do you not? I mean, there's some trees there. Of course, I'd have the photo to look at. This one down below has the main darks. This creates a visual that goes back to the back, and then you've got some darks back here that would be a little different dark. They wouldn't be the same color. If I was painting.
That's what I have trouble with. If you go back to the one you just did, so
Right.
that does help me when I paint, but I always question how solid, when I'm painting and I'm with my darkest value, how solid do I make those shapes? And
It depends.
I always question myself.
Yeah. It depends on where they are in your picture. Now, when you take a photograph, everything's going to be in sharp focus, unless you use a portrait mode, but most everybody just does the automatic and everything's in sharp focus. So when you paint, and it's what Suzanne was talking about earlier today on her little one that she worked on, is if you want something to go off in the distance, you got to do 3 things. See if I can remember all 3 while I'm talking about it. One of them, less contrast. So the things that are close together back there are not real dark and real bright. They're subtle. They're closer together on the value scale. So less contrast. They're less intense. So their colors aren't as bright. they've been dulled down a little bit, and they're cooler. Cool colors recede, warm colors advance. Oh, and the edges are softer. So there's 4. So, but does that make sense? Do what I just said make sense? Does everybody understand softer edges? Those are the blurred edges. If things are up close, like if I want to focus on this barn, I want the edges of that barn to be in focus. Okay? But I would want the trees back here to be somewhat blurred and softer in color than the grass in the foreground.
So where you want someone's eye to go would be the opposite of these 4 things.
Right. Usually.
Yeah.
I mean, there's always exceptions.
Yeah.
But but it's okay. So let's focus then though on the focal point. If you want something to be a focal point, it's opposite of that. You're going to have high contrast. You're going to have more intense colors.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to have harder edges. And what did the other one I say?
Cool and warm.
Well, and that's debatable depending on what it is or where it is. But at least those other 3, if you want something, if you want your eye to go to something, you've got to create those hard edges, because your eye, when it has a soft edge, it kind of blurs. It just kind of flows to the next thing.
Right.
If it's a hard edge, your eye's going to stop and examine it. And if it's a line, it's going to kind of follow it. It's just how we look at things.
Yeah.
But when you paint, your overall painting, if I can even see one up here that's really a good example. I mean, like the one, Suzanne can't see that one.
It's okay, I can turn around.
Well, even these birds. Okay, I wanted your eye to go to the birds. The background is muted. I mean, some of the, see how it's dull?
Yeah.
Really dull. And then the ones that are up close are darker or maybe brighter in color. That's not much contrast with the background. There's not much difference in how light or dark it is. So if you want things to look like they're going further off, but all around here, all around the outside, there's not much detail, because I don't want your eye to go to the outside. But it's like we see, I think I mentioned this before, if I stared at this portrait right there with the girl, return to me, whatever you want to call her, I miss you already, I think it's what the name of it is. If you look at her and you're just staring in her eyes, you see all the other things around, but they are not as in focus as her eyes are. And so when you paint a painting, you want to pull the viewer's eye into what you want them to see, and by softening edges as you get away from other things allows that viewer's eye to be pulled into where